trying to deal with all sorts of different things, and a different tool for each kid and a different teacher with a different mindset. And it's been a lot of fun, but really challenging. I'm sure a lot of people who are listening certainly feel that as well.
Absolutely. So what do you got for us today?
So I've been thinking about, okay, so what's behind me, what's behind you? I can just see a yellow screen here before, but it's really the idea of really thinking about the context of what we're doing right now. So when we're thinking about remote teaching and learning, there's a context. So when we're in a classroom, we're in the context of the classroom, and usually, I mean, some of the baggage that students bring in, or their history, their context, is hidden with the institutional walls.
Yeah.
But I've been I teach online courses, and only online courses these days, and mostly to graduate students these days. So if you can imagine, my regular Tuesday evening is, I teach in Zoom, so I've got 25 boxes, and each one of these boxes has a different story. So there's kids, walking around, there's dogs and cats and whatever else is happening. There's screaming kids, some screaming here and there, stuff that probably I don't want to hear at sometimes. Yeah. But every once in a while, we were talking about TikTok the other day, and and my students didn't really know what this is. So these are teachers who are graduate students, probably in their 30s or 40s, have no concept of what TikTok is. And then you could see in the background, every once in a while, there'd be this teenage girl or teenage boy in the background, and they're like, I'll talk to this. I'll talk about this. So they emerge from the bedrooms to become experts in these grad courses. And so we're listening to them, and it's what's happening. It's like, we have to remember that we're extending into their homes, and there's some really neat things around that. So one, we can use the expertise, we can use the context. If you see that I have a guitar behind us, we can talk about guitars or whatever that might be. But there's all sorts of context clues that can get us a bit closer to their worlds. And I think it's just this idea that there's a couple of things here going on. We have to remember that we're in their spaces, that we can learn from their context, that there might be opportunities to actually learn differently than what we do when we're just thinking about being placed in the institution. There's also some challenges. I remember teaching an undergraduate course a couple of years ago, and one of my students, who's just up to no good, decided to vape openly. So I'm in a Zoom class, and all of a sudden one of the little squares is becoming a little smoky. And he's vaping, and he's just like blatantly blowing, smoke rings into the camera. And I was thinking, like, I have no policy for this. I don't know. He's in his home. I don't know if he's vaping something legal or illegal, but he's vaping. And so right away I just said, hey, everyone, I have a really unique challenge. So, X is vaping over here. You're all going to be teachers someday. So let's think about this new context. We're in very new ground here. And thank you for the opportunity to provide some policy or some insight into this. So we got into, small groups, and we just decided, like, what would you do if a student, did this in your class, in an online class? What can I do as a teacher? And so we kind of went back and forth, and eventually students got to the point where, it's not illegal and there's no policy around it, but, we all have to act 24/7 as teachers, and we have to present, good digital identities or whatever it might have been. But it's just this idea that we're in new space right now. And we kind of have to abide by new rules, or a new set of rules. We have to think differently about when we're extending into student spaces, but we can also think opportunistically about how we can actually connect in really cool ways, and how we can connect deeper to the people that are living in those homes and the people around them. So that's all I got to share, really. But I think
what should people do? Should they consciously establish a social contract? Should they write it into their syllabuses? What do you think they should do?
I mean, one of the things you can certainly do is, when you're connecting to students at the beginning of the semester, it's like, pull something from your home. Tell me how unique it is. What's the story behind this? Tell me what's happening in your context. If people are willing to do that, share what's going on. At the same time, you can think about, like, I think Google or Meet, I think, actually has a way of obscuring everything, where I can go into my video and I could choose a virtual background, and I can choose, what's my interest. So I've got Star Wars going on in the background, so I can do this sort of thing. So maybe I choose a background if I'm using something like Zoom to kind of explain what I am, or if I want to be more comical, I can, get myself into a meme or something here, or whatever it might be. Between two ferns, I could do an interview. I can do whatever I want here. So it's this idea of, like, use this context, whether it's real or virtual, to establish some connection. Even if it's a single artifact they pull out in the house, let's try to find out what's going on in their students' lives to understand their context. Because right now it's really, really important that we understand their context more than ever.
Yeah, and be patient with each other.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
That's all I've got.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm just, the rest of you, thank you for joining in, and we'll see you